Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Imagination Factory. I'm Sarah.
I'm Keith, and it's going by quick. Like, I can't believe we were talking about this in January and
Yeah,
just planning all this out, and we're already a month in. It's just crazy. So before we get into the next step, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do outside of work. So one of the things that I like to do that's connected to the art that I create is when I go travel, I bring a sketchbook and do like a field sketch, right? So I've gone to Africa, I've gone to Peru, I've gone to Europe, and I'll bring a sketchbook and do some drawings because it's a great way for me to journal what I'm doing as well as be able to get ideas for characters or process of creating a workflow. And sometimes I even use some of the art that I've created. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to like take all those sketchbooks that I've created and make like some kind of a cool little book out of it.
that is really, really neat. I love that. I love to write. It's what I've been doing since I was, 6 years old. That's been my thing. And my son loves to draw and illustrate and animate. So, what I like to do outside of this is stuff with him. So, write stories with him where we use his illustrations to create stories, put them together, let him create these whole worlds, stuff like that to really encourage his love, which is adjacent to mine. So, that's one of my favorite things to do with writing that's completely unrelated to work is to help my son with his storytelling so that we can bring his animations to life.
That's beautiful. I mean, and it's does come back to connecting to what we're doing here, which is
Mhm.
hopefully people watching this will be able to take things from this and apply it to their own art. And so, and especially young people. I was speaking to somebody today about what we do, and they have a young one that they're going to have watch our
Oh, I
podcast,
love
and
that.
hopefully they'll be able to get something out of it. So that's awesome. That's fantastic.
It's amazing. Well, yes, we're excited to continue on, but first we want to kind of catch you up on where we've been because Keith's been working on a few things behind the scenes since we last left. So he's going to share a little bit of that before we sort of jump into where we're going tonight.
So everything that we're doing here, with the exception of some of the writing, is going to be recorded. So I will get onto Riverside and just start drawing some of the things that we do during the podcast. So you've probably seen some of this before. If some of this may have been the members only,
Hmm.
but this is what I'll do after the podcast. I'll flesh it out and get a real feel for the character. The next one here is what we worked on in the last podcast. So you did see this if
Hmm.
you were just watching on YouTube. And this is just me trying to get more of a feel for the movement of our character and work on some of the details I implemented from the character development. So just really for me to be able to get my head around what these characters or what this character is going to be doing in this world. And so we've really, this first month has been character building, like world
Hmm.
building. And from there, we're going to start to think about the actual story layout. But for today, we're going to actually finish our character world building with seeing our character in settings.
Yes, exactly. And if you're following us on social, we've been sharing some little clips of some of this as well. So you can see the art happening live. A good reminder, make sure you're following us on social, on Instagram, on TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube so you don't miss out on anything. And if you do become a member, you'll get access to all kinds of additional footage that isn't shared with anybody else. All right, so I am going to share my screen now, and we're going to go through the actual script. So, something to keep in mind is today we are going to do more of world character building, but to help us do that, I've laid this out into a script so we can kind of figure out where we're starting and where we're going. Okay, so starting with page 1, we have the the arrival page, right? This is where our whole story starts. So I've broken it out into panels, but the way that Keith and I like to work is I will break it out into panels, but we do not have to stick to panels. This is more for flow of action than specifics of every single panel needs to be like this. But let's get an idea of what's going to happen on page one. So in our first panel, we see the boxes, the bare room. It's a neutral light. The door is there and it's framed ominously. So it's there, but we don't really know what it is yet. I'm going to call our character Sam because I didn't like just calling character. It seemed weird. The name is never spoken. Sam is just a simple gender neutral name. So Sam is our character. So in the second panel, Sam notices the door in the middle of doing something, maybe carrying a box, and kind of gives like a look. And we have, huh. Sam does not say much. The next panel, hand on the doorknob and it not budging. So the first thing is, let's see if I can get in there. Sam says, locked. The door in the background, Sam is trying to sound normal on the phone. Hi, quick question. There's a locked door in my unit. I don't have a key. Landlord on the other line. What door? So we get our first sense that something is off at this point. Sam freezes and the door just sits behind them. No, there's never mind. So kind of that immediate like, am I nuts? What's going on here? Is that feeling happening? And then at the end of this page, Sam turns away and in the foreground, the door is now framed slightly more present. So the door is starting to become more in the scene by the end of that. And again, we've talked about this before, is you want to end every page with something that makes you want to flip, right? So the door started kind of there and now it's become a character. So that's page one. Do you have anything you want to add or any questions on that one?
So just my thinking, since we're going to continue with the world building, I'm thinking about the room
Yes.
and where things are laid out and kind of like starting to block or stage the room in my mind. So do you want me to go into blocking and staging before we do the all the pages, or would you like to keep on doing it and then I can
Why don't we do
talk a
one
little bit
page at
about
a time? Why don't we block the first page out and then we can move on to the second page? Because we've kind of discussed the four sort of sections of the story previously. So let's sort of go
that?
into detail on page one and sort of set up the room because we've looked at it in chunks, but we haven't really looked at it kind of as a whole as of yet.
Yeah. And so for my screen, I've got the script sent already so I can read it as I'm drawing here. But one of the things that I think about first before I start thinking about like the layout or the thumbnails, which we're going to be working
Mhm.
on next. So I would receive this script and I think I would just start reading it really pretty quickly, getting a sense. So, I'm thinking, okay, there's boxes in this room. So what do the boxes look like? Are they piled up? Are they neat? I'm thinking about the space in the room. And these are just really quick little thoughts in regards to what this room could be. Perspective for sure plays a part in this, but you don't have to worry about that too much. These are all just impressions of what I'm feeling and what I'm reading and making it very loose, making it very quick. A lot of the stuff that I've done before. And at the end of the day, when you're doing this, don't worry so much about making things look pretty or making things
Mhm.
correct. It's just really quick little sketches. You can see it's almost like I'm looking down in the room, getting a sense of the space of it. So the character of Sam standing there, I'm realizing maybe that door that's going to be neutrally framed for now is not super big. It's a little bit taller. So I'm thinking about the room compared to the person, compared to objects in the room. Is there going to be like a sink here, window? All of these things are just getting me used to size comparisons, how the room's going to feel. My first reading of the script, I don't think it's as important at this point to worry about if everything is placed or planted the way that the something that, for example, I'm going to need to know about later down the line.
Mhm.
If it's just a quick reading of the script, I'm just going to really put all this stuff in here in a way that just getting a sense of it, right? So the blocking and the staging, part of that is getting size comparisons, and blocking and staging is essentially how your character is going to move around in the room, the direction wise, right? When I read this script, let's say the second time, and I start thinking about thumbnails, and that when that happens, then I'm going to start to make sure that, let's say, a box that I need to know about on page two is going to be there on page one.
Mhm.
This time, I'm not really thinking it, just making it very loose and really enjoying the script.
And the thing too is if something interesting comes up in the visual at this stage, we can also work it in, right? So as Keith's designing the room, if we notice, oh, that's really neat, I can go back and amend the script to ensure that we draw attention to a cool cabinet or a box or a plant or something that becomes integral to the story if it gets added in, which is why this stage is really important. It's like here's a rough script with panels, but first, let's figure out these other aspects. And again, like we've talked about many times before, not get so stuck in, I've already put it down, this is the way it is, and be willing to be like, oh, you've added something neat. Let me amend to include that so that it can sort of flow with the story. So, this is a good stage for that to happen.
Yeah. So really, page one, I've just very quickly laid out the room. It's like a
Mhm.
map. And so even though there are things in there about like the door not being ominous and where the door is, it's not really mentioned where the door is located, but it's
Mhm.
not really so present. It's not that important right here because I just want to get the layout of it. And now we can go on to page two so
Okay.
that I can start to put in some of these other things that you're mentioning.
Perfect. So, let me get to back to, okay. So here comes page two. So our page two was about avoidance and control. So this is where it's a bit of a montage page because this is a little bit of where Sam is trying to figure out how to live in this space that just does not feel right. So, starting with the sofa pushed in front of the door. So Sam wipes hands for a smile, like, this feels better, like that kind of a feeling. Panel two, the TV's moved. Now Sam's sitting on the floor with the remote. The door is faintly reflected on the black of the TV screen. So again, that kind of feeling, that moving things around, trying to reorientate and can't make it work. And we have like a, okay, like a little bit kind of panicky. Sam tries not to look. So eyes drift anyways. Don't. So now we're really starting to talk to ourselves, right? Like this starting to get inside of Sam. So stares at the TV. The reflection of the door is clearer now. Still subtle, but we can really see that that door is there. So Sam stands up abruptly with his chair screech. So to really give that kind of nails on a chalkboard, we have that sound effects of bookshelf shoved to block it. So the books are tidy for now, and a plant is visible and still healthy, which is something we had talked about earlier of having that decay happen. So, kind of seeing a nice little plant on the shelf, like we're still trying to keep our life in order. Then we have, so after he does that, we get, okay, now it's night. Only the TV glows with streetlights, block door silhouette, and it's the only thing that we can see. And we have Sam kind of ending that with, why is that still there? So, this kind of feeling of this montage of trying to sort this space out, can't make it happen, and then just kind of giving in and being like, why? Why is this still there? Which will take us to our next page. I'm going to stop sharing for now so that we can see what's happening on Keith's screen. So, I thought that that page could be interesting as a montage because this is that really kind of panicking, everything's fine, house is on fire, but I'm going to be okay sort of feeling of like moving things, changing things, trying to ignore the door. But anything that Sam does, the door just keeps popping back up and can't get out of the way.
Sorry, as you were talking, I was getting some ideas. I just wanted to get them down real
And that's
quickly.
perfect.
But one of the things that you mentioned is like a shelf, right? And it
Mhm,
wasn't mentioned on page one.
mhm,
And this is where you can just start throwing things back in on page one to make
yeah.
sure that you're making those seen right
Mhm,
early on. I always, when it comes to staging, blocking things, anything that's going to be mentioned later on, you want to have earlier on in there
mhm.
somewhere. Doesn't have to be super prominent, but it's got to be visible to the reader so that when they see it, it's not a surprise to them.
Yes.
And then one of the things I was thinking about as you were reading it, and I was just kind of going, okay, what where are we like in regards to time, the era? I was thinking maybe we aren't modern because we're not really you're not really saying cell phone, right? It's telephone, I think. So
Yeah,
we could make this uh, at a time where, let's say, there weren't cell phones. So it could be the 90s, or cell phones weren't as prominent. So it could be the 90s. Putting
I think it could
for
be
people, what's
yeah, it could
that?
be interesting to set it a little bit because again, when we don't have as much tech, like what would be the first thing that you would do, right? You start going online, looking things up, you find chat groups of people that have whatever, it goes in a very different direction. But this is a little bit more isolating. So I think removing some of that tech from the equation is actually a really interesting way to make this feel even more terrifying, right? Because there's no way right now, like anybody who's feeling something weird, you go online and you find a support group of a million other people that are feeling that. That wasn't the case back before technology was as prominent. So I love that idea.
Yeah, for sure. Like so many issues of contacting people were problematic
Yeah.
before cell phones, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to get in touch with somebody, and you were, you're locked out, you have a
Yeah.
cell phone, right? But now,
Exactly.
but back then, it's like you locked yourself out of your home. Well, you'd have to go to a neighbor's house and call them, or
Yeah.
like they get the key from your husband or wife by
Yeah.
calling a payphone. So a lot of problems were solved with having that technology on you at all times.
Exactly, and even realistically now, if this person was current days, you wouldn't even call the landlord, you would text them, right? You most likely, unless like last ditch effort, you would make a phone call. But I think that having that lack of tech is actually a really interesting layer to this story because a lot of those kind of really great horror movies and thrillers took place in that pre-tech age because there is a lot less you can do on your own. So I like that.
Yeah, so then there's the use of the books. You mentioned these
Mhm.
books. I was thinking would be interesting if the books were like piled up as the way to raise the TV, right? So
That's a good
you have
idea.
all of these books piled around the TV as well as being used as an actual piece of furniture,
Mhm.
maybe even like a book underneath the pot to raise it up. So it's like this person doesn't have a lot of furniture. You mentioned the sofa. I'm drawing like one of those oval rugs that
Yeah.
you remember. I don't know why I remember as a kid that were like not quite shag, but they not the prettiest colors. They're like
Well, I
browns
think
and reds and oranges and
all of this really speaks to what we've talked a lot about with this character being kind of first time out on their own. They don't have a lot of stuff, they don't have a lot of experience. And this kind of feels like they're making up furniture from random things. They took borrowed whatever from grandma's basement, whatever it is. So it feels a little disheveled, which is kind of this character's MO, right? Like they were forced into this situation with whatever they had available to them and their space looks like that.
yeah. And so one of the things that I always try to remember is light. Where's the light coming from?
Uh-huh.
So you have a window here, and that window can, I think, create for some interesting kind of shadows and light. And that's one of those things. Again, when you're early on, just going through the page this first time and getting a sense of
Uh-huh.
the layout of the room, the staging, the blocking of the room. When you start to think about that, because I may go, wait, maybe the window is better across from this door here, or maybe the door is located in a different location. I'm thinking this door that's on the left side right here is the entranceway. So then
Uh-huh.
there's another door almost adjacent to it, but maybe not. Like, these are all things that can change up. But then
Uh-huh.
you've got like this window where the sink is. There's a sink. There's maybe a window there, and then the light could come from here because then you can get some really interesting shadows. Maybe
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know. This may change up, but I'm early on just thinking about where things could be located, where the light can be coming from, the size of things, the textures of the room. Like the now I'm looking at the floor and it's like, okay, there's wood here and it's creaky wood, right? So it looks uneven. It's just all really painting a picture of the person where they're at in time and in space and how it can set up for some really kind of creepy moments.
Well, and even speaking of the door, like, I think the fact that it's in an unusual place also adds to to the creepiness, right? Like there's certain places that feel like they should have a door and other places that really don't, right? Like it's like there shouldn't be a door here. This is weird. We've also not really talked about the size or shape of the door, right? Like is it oversized? Is it small? Is it, is it not straight edges? Like there's other things that could give this door a feeling of this isn't just some random closet door that got locked. This door is otherworldly, for lack of a better word. There's something about it that just doesn't sit right from the moment they see it versus it being like, oh, well, this is just a locked closet, whatever, I don't care. There needs to be something that makes them think that there's more to this and I need to investigate it.
What if there isn't a couch yet? What if there's just like the person just sitting on the floor?
Yeah.
Could we do that? Could we do a
Yeah, we could
situation?
even
So,
like have them on the floor and like even like an old beanbag or something like that.
ooh, yeah, there we go.
'Cause that feels very like, this is what I had available to me.
So, okay, I'm thinking now. What I'm doing is I make it a little bit bigger for everybody because it's pretty small at this moment here. Actually, I'm gonna copy, create a new layer, paste. And now I'm making this larger. So I'm actually creating a little map, a layout, like a architect's layout of the room. This
Mhm,
gives me a really quick, easy way of figuring out like where things could be in this room. And so now let's say there's got to be a bathroom somewhere here, right? So this is the entrance. This is
mhm,
like a little kitchenette. There's a window here. I'm thinking if there's the door here, that's this creepy door, and they're sitting on their couch here. They see the reflection kind of here, right? So
mhm,
that's going to be interesting. You have the light source here from the window. There's got to be a bedroom here. So maybe there's another door right here. And then there's going to be, let's say, a bedroom is right here. So there is like, we don't ever see this, I don't think, the bed, but just to have an idea. And then
mhm.
maybe there's like, this is where the bathroom is here, so another door to the bathroom, and maybe this is like a closet right here. So some of this we're never gonna use, but it's just a good idea to have an idea because this could be a door that's actually open, and so
Mhm.
there may be scenes where we actually see the bedroom where we can see the bed, so we get a sense of, like, where things are in this room so that people are like, "Is there not a bedroom in here?"
Yeah. Well, it's like we talked about earlier, like, we're never gonna actually talk about the character's backstory, but we need to know it. We're never gonna see all these
Right.
spaces, but we need to know where they are, right? So that the story makes sense, so that a reader doesn't immediately go, "What? Is this just a room? Is this a like, an apartment? What's going on?" We need to know the layout so that that isn't a question.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, like, if there's another door here, this could be like a closet or something.
Mhm,
So again, like, if it's a room where the person is going, I walk in, I see a door that I can open here, which is my closet. Uh, and then I know that I can walk here, and that's my bedroom. And then there's another closet back here for stuff. There's another room. All these doors open. This one doesn't. And everything here is like there's everything I need in this room. Right. I know it's a single bedroom.
mhm,
I know that there's a space for my, sitting down for my TV. I know there's a space for kitchen. Maybe there's like they have like a little table with a little chair right here, so they actually have, like, everything normal that they would need in this room, but there's this extra door
yeah,
that it doesn't quite fit because it's like, well, what else could it be? I already have a closet, I already have a bedroom, I already have a bathroom. What else would this be? Right?
yep,
And then that's why I think in this early stage is I'm kind of reading what you wrote, and
mhm,
then we're gonna, I think, save the next 2 pages for the second half of this.
yeah,
But this way now I'm getting a really, really good sense of the the blocking of the room, and I may rearrange it because one of the things as I get into the thumbnails and I start thinking more about the placement of the character within those panels,
mhm,
I'm gonna wanna make sure I'm setting it up in a really creepy way. Well, I have to everything has to kind of be set up ahead of time, and that's why this is really important. It's I could have drawn this map multiple times, like, maybe I'll draw it again, and I'll rearrange the room a little bit. Maybe let's see what it looks like if that weird door is at the end of the room. Then you've got the entranceway here. You've got a bedroom here. So they walk in and they know that there's like a bedroom here that they can open. And then this is divided by the bathroom. And then there's right on this side now, I'm gonna draw the window with the kitchen. And there is another closet, but maybe not over there because that's if the entrance is here. So let's say there's a closet right here that they can open. So again, it still creates the same issue, which is we've got this door at the end here, but there's everything else that they need is here. So what is
Mhm.
it? Right. So, and you see how quickly I just drew that. That was done within 30 seconds. And so I recommend doing that. I recommend
Yep.
this is where you can like continue to put your character into the world and figure out very quickly where the best way you can use the room and the space and the time and all that so that you're going to get the most from once you get to that next stage. You'll everything will be figured out, right? And that is why it's important not to like fuss too much about it at this point, just to do it very quickly. and
Mhm.
and and reading, it doesn't matter. You can read your script once and then go and do this stuff. You can read page by page and just doodle stuff down. It's not really as important because you can always add things in that you realize are mentioned later on.
Mhm.
And, really, you just want to feel like this is the fun part. This is the part where there's no pressure on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you lock it in, then it's figuring out, this is what the room looks like. Logistically, now we have to move around it. At this stage, we're figuring out everything, right? So you are open to change it up. And one of the things we have to factor in is because that door is present always, is it a fixed location? Is it slightly supernatural? Like, does it actually move, or does it just somehow, no matter what he does, it just remains in focus? So that's something we have to decide and commit to one way or the other, because once we've decided the rules of the door, then we have to stick to them. Yeah. Heading into some interesting stuff now.
Yeah. So I'm going to present a question to you, and I want you to not answer it until the second half.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of an enticement for people. Having seen what I just drew
Hmm.
in regards to the way that the room could lay out, has this changed the way you think about the story in any way, the way the script is gonna be written? So, you could change the script from this point on, it's not set in stone, which
Absolutely.
isn't always the case. Sometimes it is a little bit more set in stone, but we're doing this very organically. So, don't
Yeah.
answer that question yet. We're going to go and into the membership only part of this, and if you've been listening or watching so far, we thank you very much. We're gonna go live next Tuesday
Hmm.
at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you do have questions about what we're doing, please bring them and we'd be happy to answer them live.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much
much.
for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.